Mr. President, I rise today to speak about an urgent and truly tragic situation in Flint, Michigan, and ask my colleagues in the Senate to look very hard at what has happened here and to help us address this issue. This is a public health emergency on a massive scale. It is unprecedented. I don't know of any other American city where families in the entire city can't drink their water, can't cook with their water, can't bathe their children with the water. And Mr. President, we need to be very clear. This morning, as every other morning now, for going on 2 years, people in Flint took showers by pouring bottled water over their heads. They didn't have the dignity of clean water coming out of their taps. They had to use bottled water to drink, to make breakfast for their children, to make a pot of coffee, the things we all use water for, and the things that we, all of us, take for granted every single day. They won't have clean water until the pipes get replaced. We've had what we thought up until now was a good series of negotiations. We thought we had an agreement. I have been very hopeful of the bipartisan discussions to help these families. And we have been incredibly flexible, Senator Peters and I. We just want to get this done. We're not interested in the politics or making this partisan. We want to get something done for the people of Flint. We understand that money doesn't grow on trees, and Senator Peters and I were willing, in fact, to support a proposal that was less than half of what we originally requested in order to be able to immediately get some help to the families of Flint. And now we can't even get agreement on that because we're hearing procedural excuses that are overcome every single day on this Senate floor when we want to. Lord knows there were a whole bunch on the transportation bill, all of which were waived because people wanted to fix the roads. And I'm left wondering what's going on. What's really going on here? What is really going on? So I'm asking that we come together and understand that this is a serious, urgent issue, and that we not accept procedural excuses. It's an urgent, severe, outrageous crisis, and we need to act now. When we look at what has been said on the Senate floor, which is very concerning to me, one senator yesterday said, we were putting the cart before the horse by asking for money even before the governor knew what this was going to cost. But in fact, the governor, in writing, requested from the president $766 million to replace the pipes in Flint, and another $41 million in protective measures. And so we are working within the numbers that the governor of Michigan has identified and requested. And while it's true we don't know the full costs until work begins, as with any project, we need to begin to get this done immediately. I think what's most important is for us to really focus on what is happening to the children and families. No lead level is safe. And I have to say, I know a lot more about lead than I have ever known before. And frankly, hearing about the damage done to children and what can happen to individuals, it's really frightening. And we should all be doing everything we can to make sure that we address this lead issue across the board. But the threshold set by the EPA and the Center for Disease Control is 15 parts per billion of exposure. The water filters that FEMA is providing to families in Flint are certified to protect lead up to 150 parts per billion. And in many places, when they are provided and used correctly, that is making a real difference. But unfortunately, we look at the severity of this. Last week, a new round of tests showed that lead in some homes in Flint, range from 153 parts up to 4,000 parts per billion. I can't even fathom. If they're saying 15 parts per billion is when we need to be worried, and 4,000 parts. I heard one commentator say in the news that, and we're looking at all the different numbers, but that this is actually higher than a toxic waste dump. The exposure to children and families in those particular homes. And this is after the city switched back to the Detroit water system because of the damage that was done to the pipes. So this is severe and urgent. We have to act now. Unfortunately, the same senator also suggested we are putting the cart before the horse because this was a local issue. Come on. You know, I'm really glad that the people of the great state of Michigan didn't have that attitude when a fertilizer plant in West Texas exploded. And we spent millions of dollars in federal funding on that town. That was also a man-made disaster where safety procedures were lax. We all saw the horror of that situation, and we stepped in as Americans to support that community and those families. That's all we're asking. When floods hit South Carolina and Texas last year, we came together, $300 million put in omnibus for South Carolina and Texas for floods. And just last week, the same member of the Republican leadership asked President Obama to grant a disaster declaration and funnel millions of dollars to his state. We all know we have challenges in our states, and we need to be thoughtful, but we need to be supporting Americans around the country. This is a disaster. This is a situation where we need to show that we care about a group of people who, they did nothing. They did nothing. And they have been in a situation where their entire water system is unusable. We should be lending a hand. Right now we have up to 9,000 children under the age of 6 in Flint, 9,000 children who are exposed to lead. And I appreciate that. I'm running out of time. I'm gonna close, and I'm gonna be back a lot today. I'm gonna be back a lot. And I will just indicate to the president and to others, we want this fixed. We have been working in good faith. We thought we had an agreement working within the framework given to us by the Republicans working on this issue. We're not gonna let procedural issues that are fixed every single day in the Senate get in the way of what's happening. I'm not gonna tell families, I'm not gonna tell children, I'm not gonna tell moms in Flint that sorry we can't help you because of some bureaucratic procedural issue that folks don't want to fix when they fix them every single day. So, Mr. President, at the moment I yield and I will be back.